So what you see there in the picture is Melissa Harris, two last names Perry from MSNBC or whatever, and what she has, she's consoling a product of liberal policies and feminist ideology. But this is a situation that happened like a year ago, and I wanted to address that. I didn't. I seen that Sergeant Willie Pete found a video from what's his name, Tariq Nasheed, covering the situation. So I guess I'll just give my quick input on it as well. Basically, you had a situation where a woman who's upset because black feminists are using, I guess, what you would call Republican conservative rhetoric when it comes to personal responsibility, stop having babies without being married, do what you got to do, handle your business. So she's saying that, she hates to be called a feminist because other black feminists were actually trying to hold her accountable for her bull. Now, what does Melissa Harris, two last names Perry, do? She goes and consoles her and legitimize her bull. She goes and says that, she makes her a victim when she's not a victim, she's a volunteer. And she justifies this bullcrap. Now, to me, it was worse when she did what she did as far as when she tried to respond. She goes and say, I was married, I got the house, and I had a degree. She crossed all her T's and dotted all her I's, right? Then Melissa, with that voice, says that her husband the mother effer just up and left. I don't believe that the mother effer just up and left. I'm sure you had something to do with him leaving. I'm just going to assume that, but let's just say he did, whatever. I don't think so, but I'm sure you gave him reasons to bounce. But then she tried to correlate her situation where she crossed all her T's and dotted all her I's and saying, see, it's just like you. We're in the same situation, right? And I've noticed that this trend of feminists trying to, when they do articles and stuff, they'll label situations like single mothers, but they'll group divorced women or widows with just bastard baby makers, as if they're the same, and they're not. I was reading the one article, and I'm like, well, everything in the article is in reference to a woman who's actually married to a man, so half the stuff a regular single chick can't do because she was never married in the first place. But that's just something to watch out for. They're trying to correlate them the two to put them together in the same boat, so you can't see a real distinction. And this is exactly what Melissa Harris, two last names Perry, just did as well. But to me, that's beyond intellectually dishonest. Like, that would hurt my feelings. Like, if like, that would mean like you're trying to tell me I'm stupid. Like, if you're a guy, you come to me and you say you did this, you did that, you did all the right things, something still happened bad, and you had a backup plan and you were still good, but then you tell me who, made countless bad choices and did the wrong things and didn't, think about the future and all the consequences that come along with my choices, and you say, oh, you're okay, it's not your fault, it's everyone else's fault but yours. I'd feel dumb as hell. I'd feel like, wait a minute, this motherfucker trying to play me. Like, that would be insulting to me. If you did everything it took to do the right thing, yeah, stuff doesn't work out sometimes, but if you did what it takes to do the right thing, and you had a backup plan, so when stuff didn't go right, you had plan B, So Melissa Harris, two names Perry, she had a degree with an actual market value. She had a home for her kids to live in. She had money so she could feed her children. And so when the husband left, she wasn't in the negative in the tank, right? This woman had none of those things. She has no way to properly feed her children. She keeps having baby after baby with multiple men. How are you associating that? She had multiple babies with multiple men. You had a husband and had one kid. She's had multiple. How do you even make that correlation? But again, this is what they do. They make victims out of volunteers. Melissa Harris, two last names Perry, got married, got a degree, bought a house. This other female, no house, can't feed her kids, lived in poverty, lived on welfare, didn't get to raise her children. The state raised her children. Daycare workers raised her children. And I'm going to play a clip showing you where she talks about all that. The struggle she made. So basically, she made her life and her degree that much harder to get. Instead of avoiding children until you were married or in a committed relationship with somebody who proved themselves to be worthy of your womb, which apparently must not be worth much because you just kept letting dudes dump in you like a garbage can, right? You decide to keep having baby after baby, even though you know you couldn't afford them. Keep not making prove themselves to you to be worthy of his seed, and then you get to cry on stage like a victim when everything that's happened to you is your fault. But this is what the leftist does. But just watch these clips, right? I'm gonna let Melissa Harris, whose last name is Harry, speak, and she's at a conference with bell hooks, all these feminists and feminism and all this, and it's still other people's fault for the conditions that she's in. But just listen to what she's saying, like on some real stuff. Like, I would be offended if you came to me with this nonsense. If you tried to coddle me for doing something I know that I did wrong. If I had to look in my kid's eyes and say, I can't feed you, but guess what? You about to have another brother. You about to have another sister. I can't feed you, how's you take care of you, but I'm about to have another kid. I don't know if this dude's worthy or not, but I'm about to let this random stranger in the house with you. He's my new baby daddy. Then he bounces. Now, she's had 5 kids, possibly 4 different baby fathers, before she was even 30. And yet she still gets looked at as a victim and not a volunteer. That I don't understand. And you wonder why dudes can't cope or feel some type of way about females in that situation. Because they get passes for doing dumb ass stuff. I can't. But I'm not even more... what her situation is what it is. I'm more upset at the fact that Melissa Harris, who last name Perry, coddled this woman, tried to associate her doing everything she could possibly do to give her child the best life to a woman who did none of those things, and the state and taxpayers had to give her all the things that she's gotten. And then after she got the degree, because she didn't feel comfortable in corporate America, she left out of that to go do something that's not going to make any money. So if she would have stayed in the corporate America as an assistant, she possibly would have eventually got somewhere and got some money. But she chose to go do some community organizing or some food stuff that doesn't pay any money. So how are you going to feed your kids? I don't know. My rant is off. But this is just... I got another video coming that's somewhat similar to this. And I don't know if I'm going to do it on this channel or not. But it's crazy, man. Just check out these 2 clips. It happened a year ago. And if you follow Sergeant Willie P, you've probably seen it already with him. But I just gave my spin on it, man. It's like, how do you get to be a victim when you're a volunteer? How do you, Melissa, like that, like, that's just like fail, man. She just encouraged effed up behavior. She just encouraged, dependency on the government, right? That's not cool. That's not what we need or what the black community needs more of. They don't need that. They need to be held accountable. They need to be told to pull your pants up. Stop having sex. Use protection. Use contraceptions. Stop having babies you can't feed. That's nobody's fault but yours. And the black feminists who were pointing out your bull were correct. They were right. I'm out.
And my daughter's first board book was Happy to be Nappy.
All right.
And the words that you guys are saying right now are so sustaining. As a low-income black mother, I have been struggling to find my voice. And so I've been using my platforms, Twitter, Facebook, and talking about this being a whole person, what it means to be unmarried with 3 baby daddies and 4 kids. The pushback that I am often feeling is not from the white folks in the community. It is from the other sisters who tear me down, tell me that the reason that I am low income is because I didn't have the insight to choose good men, that I should have kept my hand out and my mouth closed and my legs closed and kept my hand out. And so I'm trying to figure out, as we talk about this plantation culture, as I try to rise above my circumstances and literally create meals that the babies in my community can eat, how do we... It stops you from wanting to have that voice. I have people who tell me, when you talk about being low income, don't talk about feeding your kids on food stamps. You don't need an audience for that. Suffer in shame and in silence. The situation that you are feeling is your own and is a product of your own bad choice. I am pregnant with my 5th child and just had this man walk out on me. How do you wake up every morning and... I consider myself a black feminist, but some days it's just so hard to get out of the bed and face other black people.
I could turn into my academic self, which says the reason that people who are most vulnerable to being in your exact same circumstance are the ones who most want to shame you, is because it's the same reason that it's the sorority girls on campus who say that you got to keep yourself from getting raped by not drinking, and it's it's because it's the same reason that the churches that are growing among black folks are the prosperity, health, and wealth ones instead of liberation theology churches, right? And it's because it is much easier to believe that we can solve inequality by pulling up our pants or keeping our legs closed, or, right? So it allows you to wipe away all of the structural realities that require collective action and that require work that goes over and past your own life. So if it's just your individual decision making, then I'm safe from it. So as long as I make a different decision, I will never be vulnerable to poverty or to heartache or to pain. And I will just say, you know, that your point about making all the right choices, right? So I can remember the point at which I became a single parent, and I was like, okay, but whoa, wait a minute. I did everything right, and I got my degree first, and then I got married, I got my degree first, then I got married, then I bought a house, then I got pregnant. I'm supposed to be all good. And that motherfucker was like, peace out. And went and just was, and there I stood with a baby. Now I stood there with a baby and a degree and as a homeowner. So the shame,
and realize a dream once put on the back burner so that you could raise your children. You are the soul of the CUNY system. You are the richness, the muscles, the tissue, and the blood that gives this system life, making it one of the most diverse in the country. Love Muffins, we are unrivaled. Now, I too am a CUNY graduate, hence the bias. It took me 6 years, 2 children, an on and off history with welfare, a short stint of homelessness, and creative child care arrangements, including the Early Learning Center at Baruch, to graduate. And Baruch was my 3rd college. What you have done here today is no easy feat. I walked across a stage much like this one in 2006. And let me tell you a little bit about what it took me to get across that stage and then actually end up here in front of you. I had my first child at 22 and my second at 23, both while trying to pursue my undergraduate degree at Baruch. I was pregnant so long that I bumped into professors on campus, confused, not entirely sure how one could be pregnant longer than 40 weeks. I faced some insurmountable struggles during the time I was in school. Childcare was a constant struggle, and parenting was even harder. Was I even parenting? I dropped my children off at 7 in the morning while they were sleeping and picked them up at 9 or 10 p.m. when they were sleeping. I missed their first steps. I didn't potty train them, and I didn't hear them utter their first words. And it killed me every day. But in my bones, in the pit of my stomach, I felt. No, I knew that what I was doing was the right decision for both me and them. I would be the first of my siblings, and currently the only one of them, to graduate college. I would be realizing a dream. That neither one of my parents, my mother, a teenage mother, and my father, one of the smartest blue-collar men that I knew, had the opportunity to. That was important to me. So I made the pledge after I made the decision to be a young mother, that I would realize the one thing my father, who ended up raising us alone as a single father, wanted the most for me, and that was to graduate college and actualize the potential of my best self. I wish he could have came tonight to see this. Shortly after having my children, I knew I needed to find housing for my family, and I found myself gentrified out of Harlem and into the South Bronx. Now, I love my community, but that love was a journey. When I first arrived there, I was exposed to pollution, a culture that wasn't the one I grew up with, lack of good food, and poor air quality. And I just knew that my degree was going to change all of that. I was going to graduate from Baruch, and I would get me a good corporate job, and it would just fall down like manna from the biblical skies. And after 6 years, food stamps, welfare, a failed relationship, 2 kick-ass daughters, and a slew of random jobs, I walked. And the corporate job did not fall. In fact, I found myself